Hey everyone, this is Prince Brightstar. As part of the 100 episode celebration, I wanted to share something that I've known about the game for quite a while. For me, one of the most important aspects of the series has been the music. And can you blame me? With powerhouses like Tokuhiko Uwabo and Hideaki Kobayashi, the soundtracks for most of the games have been great. When the Phantasy Star Online 2 Alpha leaked, I jumped on the opportunity to take a look at the music and how it worked. As it turned out, the new music system would be the most complicated SEGA had ever used, allowing multi-layered tracks and a number of other new tricks to happen. Today I'd like to share with you at a raw level how the music in Phantasy Star Online 2 works, but before that, I'd like to go over a brief history of how the music in Phantasy Star worked previously. In the beginning of the series, music was designed to play from a start point on a track and go to a loop point where the music would continue to loop back as many times as needed for a player to finish what they were doing, whether it was being in a fight or just walking around town. Music in the Algo series had nothing dynamic about it, aside from occasionally replacing one digital instrument temporarily so a sound effect could be played instead. However, this would change greatly with the release of Phantasy Star Online. For Phantasy Star Online, SEGA chose to bring a type of game code on that would allow the streaming of pre-created waveform music data in real time called ADX, which was created by CRIware. One of the special functions of ADX was that it had the same looping capabilities that prior games had had, as well as allowing the game to swap on the fly between multiple music tracks. This would allow the music to transition back and forth between calm and battle themes, without the music missing a beat. This type of system had been created many years prior as the iMuse system, created by Michael Land and Peter McConnell, whom were employed by LucasArts at the time. This system appeared in games such as Secret of Monkey Island 2 and Maniac Mansion. However, that system was limited to just MIDI files. It was ADX that allowed standard waveform audio files to be played in sync with each other through compression into an ADX file type, which enabled seamless looping and transitioning with pre-recorded audio rather than trying to construct a music track on the fly through built-in instruments, producing a much higher quality soundtrack. This also allowed Phantasy Star Online to load new weapon sounds in real time without having the music stutter. Since Phantasy Star Online, ADX has been tied to the series along with many other SEGA series for a long time, and one of the benefits of using this format was the low CPU overhead it required. With the release of Phantasy Star Universe, SEGA continued to use ADX, however the music no longer transitioned for battles. Instead, tracks would simply play from start to a loop point. This was a disappointing step backwards, and it shows when you get to certain special areas in the game in which only the battle tracks from Phantasy Star Online would play. The music was also encoded to prevent it from being played outside the game. This was eventually defeated, however. Now with that history lesson over, let's talk about Phantasy Star Online 2. Much of the music in Phantasy Star Online 2 is using the new ADX2 format, and a system that SEGA calls Sympathy that allows the game to rewrite a game track in real time. The new format improves on the previous ADX by allowing layered music tracks which play multiple tracks of music at the same time. By doing this, the game is able to add in different rhythm or musical elements in real time based on what is happening. With few exceptions, tracks will use 3 layers of music. This includes 2 melody layers, typically named M, O, or S, but there can sometimes be exceptions to this, as well as layer R, which is the rhythm layer. In addition to this, because the system is dynamic based on what's happening, the music will transition back and forth from calm to battle. And, depending upon the situation, the music can also change then. If a player is dying or has dropped to 0 HP, the pinch track will play. If a boosted enemy appears, the Sympathy system will pitch the music higher. Also, when an emergency trial is active, even if you are not participating in the trial, the battle music will continuously play without ever going back to the calm music until the emergency trial is over. Lastly, if a PSE burst triggers, sometimes a 4th layer will be added, and a new portion of the track will play. Each track is broken into multiple segments. For instance, the Force back in the Phantasy Star Online 2 Alpha had about 200 segments. The Lilliput Quarry, however, has 1,971 segments. So what does this mean to us, the player? Faster music transitions, the music can change dynamically as the situation requires, and it's also incredibly hard to extract and put back together for playback because you're no longer dealing with just one file that needs to be decoded. In order for the game to read the music data properly, the data needs to be stored in a CPAC container file, which has all the music in one file. ADX2 and Sympathy will then read the files and play them as needed. For playback outside the game, you would need to extract the CPAC container into the individual files that make it up, decode the new ADX2 audio, known as HCA, into a standard waveform file, and reconstruct the audio file by file into a single track. I know this is incredibly technical, so in order to show you how this works, I prepared a second video which will allow you to be the music conductor for the Dark Falls Loser battle theme. The point of these videos, like I said before, was to explain how the music in Phantasy Star Online 2 works, and I feel allowing you to see how it works yourself will give you a better understanding. Click the card on your screen to be taken to the second video now.